Before the spotlight, before the headlines, and long before their names became tied to Selena Gomez and Pete Davidson, two rising stars crossed paths in a way nobody expected. Benny Blanco, now the man at Selena Gomez's side. Elsie Hewitt, the woman linked to Pete Davidson. But years ago, before fame shaped their stories, they shared a quiet relationship the world barely noticed until now. How did their paths collide? Why did it end? And why is this forgotten chapter suddenly resurfacing as their new romances dominate Hollywood's spotlight? Because in celebrity timelines, nothing stays buried forever. What if I told you that two people who would later become intertwined with two of Hollywood's most talked about stars once shared their own love story? A story that flew under the radar. A connection that most people never knew existed. Before Benny Blanco became the man who captured Selena Gomez's heart, and before Elsie Hewitt became the woman linked to Pete Davidson's chaotic love life, they had their own moment, their own chapter. And tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on a relationship that quietly existed in the shadows of fame, only to resurface in the most unexpected way when both of them moved on to headline-making romances with two of the most recognizable names in entertainment. This isn't just about who dated who. It's about timing. It's about how life has a strange way of connecting people in ways we never see coming. And it's about how sometimes the person you were with before becomes a footnote in a much bigger story. So buckle up. Because this journey through love, fame, and unexpected connections is about to get real. Let's start with Benny Blanco. If you don't know his name, you definitely know his music. Born Benjamin Joseph Levin in 1988, Benny grew up in Reston, Virginia, with dreams bigger than his bedroom. He wasn't the kid who wanted to be a star. He was the kid who wanted to make stars. And that's exactly what he did. Benny started producing music in his teens, working with Disco D, and by the time he was in his early 20s, he was already in the studio with some of the biggest names in the industry. We're talking Katy Perry, Maroon 5, Ed Sheeran, Rihanna, Justin Bieber. The list goes on. Benny became the invisible architect behind some of the most iconic pop songs of the last 2 decades. Songs like Teenage Dream, Moves Like Jagger, and Love Yourself. He wasn't on the stage, but he was pulling the strings behind it. And then there's Elsie Hewitt. Born in London in 1996, Elsie moved to Los Angeles as a child and grew up in the heart of the entertainment world. She wasn't trying to be a musician or an actress. She was carving out her own lane as a model. And she did it with grace, beauty, and an undeniable presence. Elsie became the face of major campaigns, gracing the pages of magazines and walking runways. She was building her own empire, one photo shoot at a time. But here's where it gets interesting. Somewhere in the maze of Hollywood parties, industry events, and late-night LA adventures, Benny and Elsie's paths crossed. And for a moment, they weren't just two people trying to make it in the entertainment world. They were two people who found something in each other. The thing about Benny and Elsie's relationship is that it was never plastered across tabloid covers. There were no paparazzi shots of them holding hands on the beach. No Instagram posts declaring their love. It was quiet, almost secret. And maybe that's what made it real. Sources close to the couple at the time said they connected over their shared understanding of what it's like to exist in the entertainment industry without being the main attraction. Benny was behind the scenes, crafting hits for others. Elsie was in front of the camera, but always as the supporting visual, not the headline act. They got each other. They understood the grind, the pressure, the loneliness that comes with being so close to fame, but not quite in the spotlight. They were spotted together at a few industry events. Quiet dinners, low-key hangouts. Nothing flashy. Nothing screaming for attention. And maybe that was the point. In a world where every relationship is dissected and analyzed, Benny and Elsie kept theirs private. They protected it. Or at least, they tried to. But here's the thing about Hollywood relationships. Even the quiet ones have an expiration date. The demands of their careers, the constant travel, the different paths they were on. It all started to weigh on them. And eventually, like so many young couples navigating the chaos of the entertainment world, they drifted apart. No drama, no public breakup. Just to people who realized they were heading in different directions, and for a while, that was the end of the story. Or so it seemed. Fast forward a few years. Benny Blanco is still dominating the music industry. He's racking up awards, producing chart toppers, and building his empire. But something changes. He starts stepping out of the shadows. He releases his own music. He starts collaborating with artists, not just as a producer, but as a featured artist. Songs like East Side with Halsey and Khalid put him in the spotlight in a way he'd never been before. And then, in 2023, something unexpected happens. Benny Blanco and Selena Gomez. The rumors start swirling. At first, people think it's just speculation. But then, the confirmation comes. They're together, and the internet loses its mind. Selena Gomez. The former Disney star turned global pop icon. The woman who's been through public heartbreaks, health battles, and media scrutiny finds love with Benny Blanco. The producer who helps shape the sound of modern pop music. It's unexpected. It's wholesome. And fans are here for it. Selena, who has been open about her struggles with relationships, lupus, and mental health, seems genuinely happy. And Benny. He's head over heels. He talks about her in interviews with a sparkle in his eye. He posts about her on social media with the kind of sincerity that makes even the cynics believe in love again. By late 2024, the word husband starts floating around. And fans are convinced that Benny and Selena are endgame. But here's where the plot thickens. While Benny is living his best life with Selena, Elsie Hewitt is making headlines of her own. And guess who she's been linked to? Pete Davidson. Yes, that's Pete Davidson. The Saturday Night Live alum. The guy who's been romantically linked to everyone from Ariana Grande to Kim Kardashian. The man whose love life has been dissected more than a biology lab frog. Elsie and Pete are spotted together. They're photographed at events. They're seen grabbing dinner. And suddenly, Elsie, who once kept her romantic life so private, is thrust into the spotlight in a way she never was before. Because dating Pete Davidson comes with a certain level of public scrutiny. It's unavoidable, and that's when people start putting the pieces together. Wait, Benny Blanco, who's now with Selena Gomez, used to date Elsie Hewitt, who's now with Pete Davidson. The internet does what the internet does best. It spirals. Theories emerge. Memes are made. And suddenly, this quiet connection from years ago becomes a fascinating footnote in the larger story of Hollywood's interconnected web of relationships. But let's take a step back, because this isn't just a juicy bit of gossip. It's a reminder of how small the world of fame really is. How the people we date, the connections we make, they all become part of our story. And sometimes those stories intersect in ways we never expect. For Benny and Elsie, their relationship was a chapter. An important one maybe, but still just a chapter. They were young. They were figuring out their lives. And when it ended, they moved on. No bitterness. No public feuds. Just a people who shared something real for a moment. And then went their separate ways. But life has a funny way of circling back. Now Benny is building a life with Selena, someone who matches his energy, his creativity, his passion. And Elsie is navigating her own path with Pete and whoever else comes into her life. The truth is, we all have exes. We all have people who were once important to us who are now living completely different lives. And sometimes those people end up in unexpected places. It doesn't diminish what we had with them. It doesn't make those memories any less real. It just means that life moves on, people grow, paths diverge, and new stories begin. So why are we so obsessed with this connection? Why does it matter that Benny and Elsie once dated? Part of it is curiosity. We love the idea of connecting dots, of finding hidden links between the people we follow and admire. It makes the world of celebrity feel smaller, more relatable. It reminds us that even the rich and famous have pasts. They have histories. They have relationships that didn't work out, but there's something else at play here. It's the fascination with timing. The idea that if Benny and Elsie had stayed together, their lives would look completely different. Selena might be with someone else. Pete might be with someone else. The entire landscape of their personal lives would be altered. But they didn't stay together. And that's why they're where they are now. It's a reminder that sometimes breaking up with someone is the best thing that can happen. Not because the relationship was bad, but because it wasn't meant to last forever. It was meant to teach you something, to prepare you for what comes next. For Benny, maybe his time with Elsie taught him what he was looking for. Maybe it helped him grow into the man who could love Selena the way she deserves to be loved. And for Elsie, maybe her time with Benny prepared her for the whirlwind that comes with being linked to someone like Pete Davidson. At the end of the day, you have to remember that these are real people, not characters in a TV show, not chess pieces on a board. Benny, Elsie, Selena, Pete, they're all navigating love, heartbreak, and everything in between, just like the rest of us. The only difference is that their lives play out on a public stage. Imagine being Benny right now. You're in love with one of the biggest stars in the world. The media is watching your every move. And suddenly, people are dredging up your past, talking about an ex you haven't been with in years. It's invasive. It's uncomfortable. But it's also part of the package that comes with fame. And imagine being Elsie. You're trying to live your life, build your career, maybe explore a relationship with Pete. And suddenly, you're being pulled into a narrative about your ex and his new relationship. It's not like you can just ignore it. The internet doesn't let you. But here's the thing. They're handling it with grace. There's been no public drama. No shady Instagram posts. No interviews throwing shade. They're all just living their lives, moving forward. And that, in itself, is admirable. So what's the lesson here? What do we take away from this tangled web of past relationships and current romances? Maybe it's that life is unpredictable. That the person you're with today might not be the person you end up with. And that's okay. Every relationship, every connection, it shapes us. It prepares us for what's next. Benny and Elsie's story is a reminder that our pasts don't define us, but they do inform who we become. And sometimes those pasts resurface in the most unexpected ways. Not to haunt us, but to remind us of how far we've come. Today, Benny is thriving with Selena. They're building something beautiful together. Something that feels real and grounded. And Elsie. She's carving out her own path, whether that's with Pete or on her own. She's more than just someone's ex. She's a force in her own right, and in the end, that's what matters. Not who dated who. Not the 6 degrees of separation in Hollywood. But the fact that each of these people is living their own story, writing their own chapters, and creating their own happiness. So the next time you see a headline about Benny and Selena, or Elsie and Pete, remember that there's so much more beneath the surface. There are histories, connections, stories that we'll never fully know. But that's what makes it all so fascinating. That's what keeps us watching, wondering, connecting the dots. If this story got you thinking, if it made you see these celebrities in a new light, hit that like button. Subscribe to Luminoir for more deep dives into the hidden connections and untold stories of Hollywood's biggest names. And drop a comment below. What do you think about Benny and Elsie's past? Does it change how you see their current relationships? Let's talk about it.